If you had asked me 5 years ago, I would have said, yeah, I want everybody in the office. I want to have meetings around the boardroom. It was always I just liked everybody being in person, being there, being engaged. I tell you, the last year and a half, you can definitely have great meetings like this, like we're doing. It'd be much better to be in person doing it, but this definitely will suffice.
Do you think this will continue on? Will you guys go back to having more in person, or do you think you'll continue on with having more virtual interactions?
I think I'm going to really pick carefully what I can do virtually and what I think we still need to do in person. You do miss the human touch in person. I love, there's nothing I love more than having meetings and getting caught up and, meeting for coffees or meeting for dinner. I think you really develop strong relationships like that. People get to know each other a bit more personally. When we're doing these meetings and Zoom calls, we put our 30 or 60 minutes in, we get right to the business. So you do miss that interaction a little bit. I don't want to say you miss the fun, but there's something about team building and bonding that when we're together, and if we have a conference and we have all the reps across Canada come to a conference, we really help build a team, a better team that love working with each other. Zoom, yeah, it works, but it doesn't work all the time. Would you agree, like with the residents and things like that? Are you finding maybe a little bit the same in your area?
Yeah, I mean, when it started, like a year ago, when we moved everything to virtual, and I think it opened people's eyes that you could do a lot of these things, and I think it really expanded on it expanded on people's interest in having educational activities, actually, because now you could do more. Like you could actually go to more conferences because they were virtual. You didn't have to take, a week off of work and travel and be away from your family and be in a hotel. Or if you were going to go do an evening event, you could literally do that evening event from your office and beside your bedroom and spend an hour and then be back at doing whatever it is at home, as opposed to you're done for the night and you're gone and you're not going to see your kids and you come back. So I think that part of it has certainly been great. And part of me thinks that won't change. I think it's fantastic that we have moved towards virtual meetings in like education, for instance, because now I can participate in a European conference without having to go to Europe, and I don't have to necessarily worry about taking so many days off work or being away from home. I can go to, I can participate in conferences that are easier to get to, and I think many people will feel that way. I do agree with you that there's an element of being zoomed out, though. And I think it is not going to be ever as good as being in person and talking to people in person. And part of that is forming relationships where, whereas now we're kind of chatting on Zoom, but if we were beside each other, we'd do the same chat, but then when the camera's off, we're kind of really getting to know each other even more so. So there is, that part of it, I think we still do miss.
Yeah, Dr. Yazdani, you're right. And it's funny because today I had a CSPS call. So for those who don't know, it's the Canadian Society of Plastic Surgery, that they're doing virtual meeting now. So we were all supposed to be in Whistler in June. And that's always a great way to see a number of different healthcare practitioners from across the country. And so this year they've decided just due to everything else, it's going to be a virtual meeting. And again, I don't know from our end, from a company perspective, how great that will be, right? That you'll come in, you'll enter into my booth virtually. I'll have to let you know, part 2 of our series, we can talk about it, because I'm just not sure after seeing the call today does this work, or I don't know.
Well, that's a good point. So for people who don't know, a lot of our educational conferences are supported financially by industry partners. But in the past, you'd go to a conference and there'd be an area where there'd be booths, and participants would be encouraged to interact with the industry so that you can kind of see what those industry partners have brought to the conference, what new products they're showing, and it encourages kind of them to be involved. Now you're right. You're probably going to go into some breakout room and I'm not sure how you have a conversation with somebody in a breakout room if you don't know them and they're just
super curious. I was thinking, he was showing me today and I'm like, really? How many people are going to want to have a live chat with me? But hey, I may be wrong, right? So I'll be curious to see.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it'll be interesting to kind of, yeah, I don't know. But on the flip side, there may be other things like, um, I think the whole webinar market has exploded. Like I don't know that there's a day that goes by that I'm not invited to multiple webinars, and that's great. Like the webinar kind of industry is booming. I've given webinars and it's kind of weird. It's definitely weird giving a webinar as opposed to giving an in-person lecture, an in-person talk where you kind of, it's almost like you're talking into a vacuum or into a black hole. There's very little, sensory feedback you get when you're giving a webinar, and, you kind of are just talking, and maybe depending on how many people are in the webinar, maybe somebody writes a question in the kind of chat comment and you can see their question. But by and large, you're not looking at faces, you're not hearing people, you're not, there's not this physical feedback of, are you doing a good job? Is somebody interested? Should you go in a different direction? It's like you're sitting in a closet with the lights off and you're just talking to yourself. It's a very weird feeling.
100%. On top of can you hear me? Am I sharing my slides with you? Like if I hear these lines,
yeah, because you get no feedback. That's what I mean. It's like a sensory deprivation thing. You have no feedback, and you don't even know if your internet got disconnected. At some point, I may have been disconnected, and I could just be talking to myself here, and I don't know.
Well, and forget about trying to be funny, because you don't get any response. Like, so you think you've said something funny, but you're like, wait, maybe, so, and I always think I'm funnier than I am, as many people tell me. So that's even worse, because now, you just sit there like quietly thinking, oh gosh, nobody understood that.
Yeah, that's right. It's the mental tumbleweed that's just kind of rolling across the floor after you say something.
Yes.
Yeah. So I agree. I don't know, that's a very weird thing. But on the other hand, like it opens up the whole webinar thing to people that wouldn't have ever been a part of it before.
Listen, it'll be interesting to see the attendance that they get. And then, what I've also found is you can get some really good keynote speakers now that aren't having to fly in. So to your point, some sessions that you might not have attended before because you just couldn't get there, now they're bringing them to you. It's fantastic.
Yeah, there's definitely pros and cons. I don't think it'll go away, but there'll have to be some kind of merging of in-person and virtual. But I don't get a sense it's going to go away anytime soon anyway.
I would think that, when we look at we have this return to work committee of when everybody's going to go back to the office. And, at one point last year, it was, okay, we're going to be back in July, and then we're going to be back in October. Once they've stopped saying it, because, most likely, like you said, it's no different than, when they'll be on a plane next time.
Yeah, I know. So since we're naturally essentially talking about COVID, do you know much about this J&J vaccine that's being released?
I so wish I did. I wish I knew more. I don't know much, but I was thinking, I thought you would ask me that for sure. And at some point, if one of your next series, and if your audience is interested, I could see if I could get, one of the medical directors who's involved with that to come on to a podcast, which might be interesting, right? Just to see, all I know is what I'm probably reading the same as you're reading is it's exciting that it's one shot. I think there's a lot of benefits to some of that. So I think it will most likely do very well. I just don't know enough about it.
Yeah, we just got to put the gas pedal down and kind of get it out fast. That's the biggest thing. Get it. And the one shot vaccine is really great. It means more people are going to get access to it and be fully vaccinated without having to worry about the 2 shots. But
it's true. We have a general manager who's excellent as well, but he'll do a town hall. And one of the first questions on every one of his town halls is, when can we get our J&J vaccine, right? So we always laugh because we just want them to open up the doors, let us go in, get the vaccine and be gone, but no such luck for us.